if you ask yourself this question and think about this, just beyond just an odd thought, why would a majority of the food that we eat today be highly addictive? Why would someone give you food that's highly addictive? Now, in order for you to think deeply, I want to give you this example. Just run through your mind just for a few moments. What does a drug dealer do? A drug dealer basically provides highly damaging substances to his clientele. And maybe not at the start, but over time, the highly abusive substances begin to affect the person's psyche, their mind, and they become addicted. That's one layer. But the second layer, which is also, and if not more damaging, is a side effect which starts to damage the person slowly but surely. But in a lot of cases, it happens rapidly. And at this point, it's so hard for the drug addict, the client, to basically turn back and say, you know what, I know this is extremely bad for me. I know I'm caught up in this scenario, but it's so hard for them to go back. So at this point in the journey, the big question I continued to have was, why? Why are all of the foods that are continually advertised to us highly addictive? Why are all of the foods that are heavily advertised to us today really damaging, unbeneficial to the body? And why is most of this food that is heavily advertised to us extremely cheap? This was the overarching question, why, that I've kind of broken into 3 subsections in regards to why. It was hard for me not to fall to the point of just thinking to myself, you know what, this is by design. We talked about this in a previous video. I took you all the way back to the Garden of Eden and the forbidden fruit. The problem was around food. It's no surprise that at that particular point in time, food was one of the big obstacles that the devil used to kill man and woman. And it's not a surprise today that it seems like certain similar things are happening. Now, I kind of explained to you and ran through what a drug dealer does. Now think about this in regards to just the food industry and the food that we eat. What do they do? From a young age, they continue to give you certain types of food which are highly addictive, gradually destroy you in most cases. A lot of other cases, it's not a gradual deterioration. It's a lot more rapid. It's a lot more faster deterioration. But what do? They get you from when you're very young as baby formula in a lot of cases for those people that aren't breastfed for a serious amount of time. So imagine that from a young age, you're getting certain types of foods which are highly addictive and damaging to your body over time. By the time you're probably of sound mind and sound age to really think about this and understand this, it's already too late in a lot of cases. You're already at this point where you're highly addicted, and it's not always as clear, it's not always as known. It's really when you try to walk away in a lot of cases that you realize how significant this attachment is. And as I kind of explained early on in some of the earlier videos in this health journey, I kind of explained in a lot of ways that I was an addict. And one of the big things that was driving me was the fact that I knew that food had a hold on me in ways that it shouldn't. And if food had a hold on me, this is one of the things I'm trying to teach my daughter right now. 7-year-old daughter, I try and teach her this. Look, don't be a slave to food. Don't let food be the thing that can direct you and people can use to abuse you and get you to do certain things that you shouldn't do. So by the time I realized, by the time I started really taking these changes seriously, we're talking 20, nearly 30 years here. You're talking about an indoctrination, a habitual lifestyle of going a certain way, and to turn around from that isn't easy. It took a lot of prayer on my part, a lot of dedication on my part, and I thank God tremendously for where He's brought me to. It's hard to jump out of this cycle, and it seems in so many ways that's what they're counting on. They understand that if we can get you very young, then by the time you're of a reasonable age to understand that this stuff is bad for you, by the time you're of a reasonable age to understand that this stuff can kill you, it's so hard. That's why I made a big point early on in this health journey to tell you that, look, this is about honesty. I couldn't lie to myself anymore and say I'm not an addict. God gave me the image so clearly. That's why I use the drug dealer analogy, because that's the one God gave me. He said, look, just as you look at this person that's addicted to cocaine or addicted to marijuana or whatever it is, meth, the same way they're acting, that's the exact same way you act in regards to food. And when I saw it like that, I kind of said, wow, this is actually true. But it poses so many questions. Why would someone do this? Would you say, okay, look, I'm going to give my child this food, which I know is killing them, and I know it will slowly addict them. For children, it's even worse. We'll talk about that probably in one of the next couple of videos about just the children and what impact that had on me as well. So make sure you subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss that video, because it's really important, especially for those of you that are parents. But even if you have nieces, nephews, etc., younger people, maybe you're a teacher and stuff like that, maybe you're a carer, younger people under your care, this will be beneficial to you as well. But the point is this, the more and more I continue to think about all of this stuff, the more and more God took me on this journey of realizing where I'd come from and where I was trying to go to, it just kept coming back to money. And when we link it to the whole Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, Satan scenario, it takes me back to Satan and his attempt, his desire to kill us. Okay, to accuse us every day. We did a whole series about this, the love of money. This is a real issue. The scripture wouldn't say for the love of money is the root of all evil. While some men coveted for it, they erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. But man of God, flee all of those things and seek after righteousness and godliness and etc. He goes on. But the scripture wouldn't say that unless this was real. For those of us that are Christians and believe the Bible is real and true, we have to be perspective minded and think about what's going on. This is all about money. Why is this particular food on every shelf? On the shelf is that because they want you to see it. Why? Because they know if you get this, this is something that's going to continue to make them money, and this is something they know they'll continue to get you to come back because of the ingredients they put in it. It's highly addictive. So you need to understand this. This is really significant. This all in a lot of ways comes back to money. The reason the world is allowed to flow like this, the reason there's a chicken shop on every street corner, the reason there's a fast food shop on every intersection, anywhere you go, because they know this is the food that they can get to you quickly. They know this is the food that they can charge the least amount of money for you to consume in a lot of cases, which will continue to bring you back, okay? Which is just the basics of business in one way. And they know this is the food that's highly addictive. They know that this food, even though it's killing you, is highly addictive. If they know that they can make it as cheap as possible because they know they can make it up through the mass amount of buy, the mass amount of volume, then they'll do that. If they don't have a heart to help you. If they had a heart to help you, and that was the main goal, that was the main issue, and they said, you know, no matter what, we need to provide food that is helpful and beneficial. Food would cost more because the ingredients cost more, and it would be more beneficial to you, the consumer, the customer, which is how business ultimately, ethically should be run. It would be a detriment to them, which is not what they want. They want to be able to make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible, and for as long as possible. If you want to make money as quickly as possible, that's where the fast food element comes into. But when you make food faster, it becomes poorer in quality. And if you want to make as much money as possible, you're going to use cheaper ingredients. You're going to produce food more quickly. If you want to make money as long term as possible, that's where the addiction comes in. We give them food that's addictive. We put certain things in the food that makes them addicted to this, like a drug addict. Continue to come back for years and years and years and years to come. So it's hard for me, in all honesty, really, when you look at this, and when I look at this, to say to myself, you know what, this isn't about money. Because if it wasn't about money, things should be and would be, I believe, completely different. So at the end of this day, we talked about this in a previous video about the bounty hunter. But what you need to understand is when you leave where you stay, when you're out in the supermarket, or when you're doing online shopping or whatever it is, when you're bringing food into the place that you live, when you're bringing food into your abode, just understand the food that you're most likely purchasing, if you haven't made certain changes, is worked in your detriment. It's not working in your favor. And the more and more you start to focus on certain things, we'll do a video at some point about ingredients and stuff like that, which can kind of drive the point home, is this is food that's not geared towards your benefit, it's geared towards your detriment, but it's also geared towards them making the most money out of you. And that's likely, in most cases, they're providing you with that food, and why the big industries, the government potentially are allowing those foods to go through because of money. If you like what we talked about in today's video, why not subscribe to the channel and watch this video right here next. A great video we did a little while ago about food, going into this in a bit more detail with money and different situations. And I'll put the whole playlist here as well if you want, so you can watch the different areas where we talked about this, about how the love of money is the root of all evil and how it's driving the economy in so many different cases and so many different phases worldwide.